Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and two things are for sure. It's part 2 of a dogfight battle, that's 1, and 2, it is Friday, my friends. Nexus 4, Droid RAZR HD. Let's put them together in a pre-weekend shootout and see which one comes on top. But first, special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like the Nexus 4 and the RAZR HD for using our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, they'll make sure you're hooked up with their walkout working program. Get your email, your camera settings, all that stuff ready to go, so when you walk out the door, you don't have to worry about it at Best Buy Mobile. Nexus 4, Droid RAZR HD, Part 2. Let's do this. Part 2 kicks off, and we're still kind of talking about some of the customizations that make these devices a little bit different. One thing I like about the Motorola DROID RAZR HD are the quick settings. This is something Motorola implemented not too long ago in their more recent version of Motorola's applications platform, which we're seeing with the acquisition of Google is obviously going down and down and down, becoming more and more of a stock Android version as time goes on. But you can see quick settings, obviously very much a Motorola thing here. I do like it because you get quick access, much like you do on Android 4.2, by using your two fingers and bringing down quick access to settings, brightness, Wi-Fi off, T-Mobile, network ID stuff, that is, battery, airplane mode. You get that over here to an extent as well. Phone ringtone turned off, Wi-Fi turned off, Bluetooth off, but GPS and mobile data is on. I can easily turn airplane mode on and off, and I can go to all my settings from there. So if you're looking for kind of a similar experience on the Droid RAZR HD as you are over on the Nexus 4, that could be your answer. Let's also take a look while we're in that customization kick about the people, because you can really see a ton of similarities here between people over here and then people on stock Android. Pictures are a little bit different, but again, stock version over here, and you'll find that overall the buttons are very similar. They're becoming more and more of a merged platform. So we'll look at Bill Stevenson, for example, and you can see, save for a couple of different minor gradient differences in the blue colors, very similar. Menu buttons up in the top right, favorite buttons. We like Bill. He looks really familiar. We're going to go ahead and favorite him on both. So, obviously, never mind, that's a bad joke. It's Friday. It's Bad Joke Friday. Cut me some slack here. But you can see, again, phone, shortcuts to call or message, where shortcuts over here to message. And that's all you get over here. We'll take a look at the phone applications as well, so you can see what those look like, and you got those right here. So again, this is a stock Android look and feel, a little bit more of a Motorola customization here. And instead of text up here, you do have these quick recents, favorites. And I can go into favorites here and then take a look at Bill Stevenson. So apparently these are my two favorite contacts, and as they become favorites, they pop up with these nice big pictures, which is really a useful feature. Let's take a look at speed test as well. I don't want to waste your time too much on this stuff, but we'll take a look at speed test because I do find it particularly interesting to compare T-Mobile's network and the Dallas Metroplex, which is the SIM card that's in this, to Verizon's 4G LTE network in the Dallas Metroplex. So we'll go ahead and load this up. Let's see, this one is on Fort Worth. Let's see if we can at least get this one onto Dallas, but yeah, there we go, perfect. And we'll go ahead and load this one up too. Let's see. Actually, I think that was the one of these was having issues. We're going to go ahead and use blah hosting, if I remember right. One of these was down the other day when I was doing a dogfight. So we're going to change that. We want to get this up in megabits per second. And let's take a look at the speed test here. Now, Verizon quotes 5 to 12 megabits per second on the download, 2 to 5 megabits per second on the upload. That's their guaranteed minimum speeds. T-Mobile doesn't really give that for HSPA+, but you can see it's performing incredibly well here. HSPA+ coming out actually this time around on top of Verizon's 4G LTE in my office in North Dallas. 13.83 megabits per second on the download, 8.25 megabits per second on the download over on the RAZR HD, so keep that in mind. So particularly interesting, I just find these things kind of unique. HSPA+, people are like, I love LTE, it's incredibly fast. In a lot of cases, LTE is incredibly fast. But that said, HSPA+, still got some fight left in it, at least on T-Mobile with their theoretical peak of 42 megabits per second. Also want to take your attention to Quadrant Standard here so we can see how these are running. Quadrant Standard loading up on both. Let's do a quick processor comparison here. You got a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro over here, 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU over here. So quad-core versus dual-core, obviously. And actually, I say obviously, but I'm not quite sure that it's optimized for the S4 Pro yet, so we are seeing some interesting speeds. Take it with a grain of salt, but it's not always indicative of day-to-day performance. The one issue I have with the Nexus 4, outside of the fact that I like some of the skins that come with Android and some of the software value adds, the really big thing that I'm having with the hardware itself, the battery life is not that great on the Nexus 4. I'm finding that, for example, we'll take a look at it at the end of the video, but just in the time that the video's been on, I've been doing this two-part series, I think you'll be surprised at how quickly the battery goes down. I have trouble getting more than about 10 hours of use with moderate use out of the Nexus 4, and because the battery obviously is non-removable, it's a little bit of a struggle. What I do like about this one, from the Droid RAZR to the Droid RAZR HD, they upped the battery size. So this now has a 2,530 milliamp hour battery. The RAZR Max HD has a 3,300 still, but keep that in mind. the battery life, if that's important to you, you'll find slightly better battery life over here. That said, this is a great device, so if it's worth it to you, just carry a charger around and just keep charging it on a relatively regular basis throughout the workday. 4,848, 5,190. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Quadrant standard is not by any means indicative of day-to-day performance. I'm not quite sure it's optimized for the S4 Pro CPU, so something that's particularly interesting. I find that one a little bit odd, but keep it in mind as you're rolling through this Dogfight. Let's take a look at cameras as well, because both of these have 8-megapixel cameras, but I'm really digging some of the features over here on the Nexus 4. Now, how useful this is, and you'll see here, for example, we can bring over and just focus in anywhere. And I can take a look at this, and we'll do, HDR as well. I can switch that out, and then, of course, I can switch around to the front-facing camera. And taking a look at my nifty new microphone. Let me know what you think of the sound on this video. Scene mode, auto, of course, picture size, and all that good stuff will flip back so you don't have to look at my ugly mug all day long in this video, at least for the next 6 minutes. And of course, I've got all my different settings over here, and then I've got the ability to switch between a bunch of different panorama type stuff. I've got my camera, I've got my video camera, and then this is particularly interesting, this photosphere feature. This is what I was talking about. I don't know how necessarily useful this is, but we'll line it up. I'm trying to get it in the lens here where you can see. Basically, I just line it up to all these dots. Let me see if I can get this one lined up. Surprisingly hard to do on camera, but you can see I can just move around the room and kind of create this photo grid, if you will, kind of a photo circle, and continue to do that as we move on. Now, I don't know how useful these are, but you can post them to Google+, and it's a unique feature, if you will. Over here, Motorola's camera features, that's kind of the one thing where I wish Motorola would innovate a little bit. The camera's really not that different from the Droid 3 or some of these older devices to me. Very kind of ho-hum camera, not the specialty of this device. The specialty of this device is 4G LTE, a decent battery, and then a near stock experience. So if you're looking for kind of that Nexus 4 experience on Verizon, this is probably going to be your best bet. So 8-megapixel images if I want to. By default, widescreen is 6 megapixels. So I'll jump in here and do an 8-megapixel camera just to keep it, or an image just to keep it as close as possible. Let's get this zoomed in, or focused in rather. And did not mean to do the flash. It's going to be really washed out, but you can, it's going to be washed out. Let's go ahead and turn that flash off and jump back. Off, flash off, and we'll just do a quick one. So you can see, it's a decent camera. I just find that the shutter speed's a little bit slow as opposed to over here. This is a surprisingly decent camera all around for what you get. And again, keeping in mind the price point of this device. I really like the ability to easily swipe and just go back into kind of the film strip view, as it's saying here, and access my gallery quickly and easily. It's a Windows Phone thing. We saw it on Windows Phone 7. It is now over on Android 4.2. So it's it's a tough battle, like always, between these dogfights because it's very much dependent on your personal use. If you're on Verizon, you have no intentions of switching, the Razr HD is going to be a great device for you because it brings a near stock version of Android, has some Motorola tweaks, but still nothing too crazy to the Verizon side. Tried and true, they're durable devices. You got a Kevlar back here, which I actually didn't mention in part 1. Kevlar back, so nice and strong. This is going to be your sturdy device with Gorilla Glass. Over here, you got a glass back. This is going to be your iPhone device, if you will. You drop it, the glass shatters pretty easily. We've seen just as many issues with Nexus 4 devices as we have with iPhone 5s in terms of dropping them and shattering them by accident. That said, the winner of the dogfight is the Google Nexus 4. I mean, for what you get here, quad-core processor, 8-megapixel camera, Android 4.2, HSPA Plus connectivity. While I wish it had LTE, obviously there's the hack to enable LTE, but I wish it had LTE out of the box for normal consumers. It's a great device all around, and for $300, I mean, you can't go wrong for this for $300. Full retail, no contract. Really a nice deal all around. That said, Android 4.2, the stock version, as I've said before, would love to see some of the stuff from the carrier and manufacturer installed user interfaces brought over into stock Android. There are some great value adds. They could take a page from HTC, from Samsung, and from Motorola and make Android a whole lot better with some nice software benefits. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage. Hit me up on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron. Let me know what you think of both of these devices on Facebook, Facebook.com/HiAaronBaker, on Google+, Gplus.to/PhoneDog. More dogfights to come with the Nexus 4. We're going to do a ton of content around this Nexus 4. I'm really getting it back, and I'm finding that it's a particularly useful device that appeals to a lot of different people. My Straight Talk SIM card was supposed to come today, but it did not, or it looks like it's not going to come, so stay tuned for more content around prepaid as well with the Nexus 4. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.